me explain something to you. I don't owe you a thing, and neither does he.
Hey, every time you take a breath, you owe me, Thomas.
Really?
Every time you take a breath, you owe me!
Landman exploded. 15 million viewers in just 2 days, and a third season to prove it. That's a massive hit. But behind the scenes, people who actually work in the oil industry claim some of the show's biggest moments would never happen in real life. Should the script be questioned? Stay with us as we expose all the most unrealistic moments in the entire series. Was the luncheon scene realistic?
I called this luncheon so I could introduce myself to each of you, to squash the rumors, and offer you a warning. I'm a hunter too.
The oil investors who attended MTEX's luncheon in the Season 2 premiere of Landman thought they knew exactly what kind of room they were walking into. Unfortunately, they didn't. Cammy Miller's first appearance as the new boss of the company came with a speech that made one thing very clear. Monty's widow wasn't here to smile politely and step aside. After an uncomfortable run-in in the ladies' room with younger women who tried to make her feel washed up, Cammy walked out, took the stage, and put the entire room on notice. It was precise, direct, and impossible to ignore. On screen, it feels like a power move. In real life, that kind of room works very differently. Hollywood loves a uniform. The oil business, not so much. According to Mike Summers, CEO of the American Petroleum Institute, in the scene, Demi Moore's Cammy Miller is speaking to a packed room of investors, partners, and deal makers after taking over her late husband's billion-dollar oil company. Her speech is fierce, filled with thinly veiled and sometimes outright warnings to the mostly male crowd who might be thinking about jumping ship now that she's in charge. Summers says it's believable that a company would want to face its biggest investors after a major leadership change. Independent oil companies often rely heavily on outside money, shared ownership, and debt tied up with other operators, so keeping investors calm matters. However, beyond that, he says, the scene wasn't accurate. I haven't been in many meetings where everyone's wearing a cowboy hat and a bolo tie, Summers joked. And as for calling the room the Serengeti, a line delivered by a young woman hoping to snag a wealthy oil man?
I've recently heard this room referred to as the Serengeti.
That's not something he's ever heard in real life either. And that wasn't the only scene that raised eyebrows. Cooper Norris' first deal, the Season 2 premiere, Death in a Sunset, gives viewers the kind of win every oil driller dreams about. Cooper's first well hits, and it hits big. According to recaps from Landman.tv and others, the early output is around 6,200 barrels, with more than 20% oil. On screen, Cooper and his crew waste no time. They calculated the numbers and figured the well could bring in about $29,000 a day, or close to $10 million a year, based on the oil price he's using. Overwhelmed and excited, Cooper went home to Ariana and her baby, Miguel. He can barely believe it himself. Then he loads them into the truck and drives back out to the site so they can see it firsthand. For the first time, Cooper Strikes Oil feels real, not just something for a promo line. It's the dream, the kind every driller imagines. But that dream rarely plays out like this. Can you really strike oil on your very first try? According to Mike Summers, CEO of the American Petroleum Institute, not very. It's probably inaccurate that someone drilling their first well on their own would hit a resource that strong, Summers said. That said, the quick calculations Cooper makes once the pressure valve starts singing aren't unrealistic, just faster than they'd happen in real life. In the episode, Cooper, played by Jacob Laughlin, says the well could bring in about $880,000 a month. In today's market, that number doesn't really hold up. Oil prices have fallen this year, driven by tariffs, oversupply, and rising production costs. In the show, Cooper says Texas crude is worth about $78 a barrel. In reality, oil has been closer to $60 for the past month and is expected to drop further next year. One detail that does track is Cooper's claim to owning 75% of the well. That's realistic, said Cody Haas, a landman based in Lubbock. The remaining 25% would go to the landowners as royalties, which is standard in today's industry. Summers also hinted at where Cooper's story might be headed next, a bust. And if Summers is right, Cooper's biggest test isn't success, it's what comes after it. The reality of the Texas energy industry. So what was the deal with that East Texas gas play in Landman? Most people hear Texas energy and think oil. But in real life, the big players almost always deal in natural gas too. So the show isn't stretching things by bringing gas into the story this season. Texas isn't just big in size, it's the country's top energy producer, period. Oil and gas still lead the way, but the part of Texas energy most people don't expect is wind power. All of it keeps the state running and helps supply energy far beyond its borders. In the Season 2 premiere, Tommy cuts a handshake deal with a polished businessman in a suit, a sheer contradiction to the sea of cowboy hats and bolo ties around them. One handshake, one suit, and suddenly this cowboy economy looks very corporate. And what was the deal? A natural gas plant in East Texas is priced at $400 million. However, that number isn't as realistic as it sounds. Natural gas production in the U.S. has been ramping up, helped by government policies that encourage drilling and exports. The country has leaned hard into its role as the world's top exporter of liquefied natural gas, and that's pushed more money into gas projects. East Texas, along with nearby parts of western Louisiana, sits on the Haynesville Shale, one of the hottest gas regions in the country right now. Drilling rights and gas assets have been selling for hundreds of millions all year. Big names are already in, including Dallas Cowboys owner Jerry Jones, major producer Comstock Resources, and even Japanese investors. As Mike Summers put it, the bottom line is that the American energy pie is only getting bigger, and gas isn't the only reason Texas stays on top. For 17 straight years, Texas has produced more wind energy than any other state. In 2022 alone, its wind turbines generated more than 40,000 megawatts of power, over a quarter of the U.S.'s total wind energy. By 2023, wind made up nearly 29% of Texas's electricity, second only to natural gas. The state now has more than 15,000 wind turbines spread across 239 projects, more than anywhere else in the country. That growth brings real money and real jobs. Wind energy adds about $1.7 billion a year to Texas's economy, and workers in the field earn an average of nearly $110,000 annually. Looking ahead, the wind industry isn't slowing down. Jobs for wind turbine technicians are expected to jump by more than 40% by 2031, making it one of the fastest-growing energy careers in the country. And this shift in Texas energy is shaping where Landman goes next. Ali Larter's role and audition. Besides noticing what was authentic and what wasn't, the audience was so impressed by the lead role's performances in the series. One of them is Ali Larter, whose performance in the series is beyond professional acting. She acted as if she were piercing through emotions, and she put in an outrageous amount of work to achieve that.
And then midday, we were talking about this because I work very long hours, a little power nap where I just lay in 10 minutes and I think about my children and I just go back into a place of gratitude and to the present, and then I can start again.
On Landman, Ali Larter steps into the role of Angela Norris like someone who knows exactly who she is and isn't asking for permission. Angela is a Texas woman through and through, bold, loud, emotional, and completely unwilling to sit quietly in the background. She's married to Tommy Norris, but she's not there to soften him or stay out of his way. If anything, she challenges him at every turn. Angela speaks her mind, swears freely, and doesn't hide her desires, even when it makes Tommy uncomfortable. Their daughter, 17-year-old Ainsley, is clearly cut from the same cloth. The family dynamic feels messy, real, and lived in. And that's a big reason viewers have grown attached to their scenes. Neither Angela nor Tommy feels fake or exaggerated. They feel like people you might actually know. Larter says she went after the role because Angela jumped off the page. She's loud with her feelings, expressive to a fault, but underneath all that noise is a woman with a big heart. That mix is what drew her in. Not everyone had an easy path onto the show. While John Hamm was offered his role after a casual visit with Taylor Sheridan at his Fort Worth ranch, Larter had to fight for hers. She later described the audition as one of the hardest she's ever done. First came a few pages of script, then more, then even more. By the time she was done, she had read 18 pages just to earn a screen test. That test took place in Fort Worth, where she sat alongside 11 other actresses competing for the same role. One by one, they were called in. Then everyone waited. Larter said the pressure was intense, but she believes it was intentional. Sheridan wasn't just casting a role, he was testing endurance. Looking back, she sees it less as cruelty and more as a filter for who can survive the heat. By the time Larter made it through the audition process, she had come to understand Angela deeply. She saw her as a middle-aged woman who still loves life, still owns her sexuality, and refuses to fade quietly into the background. Angela may be loud and carefree, but when it counts, she knows how to be serious. Once filming began, Larter worked closely with Billy Bob Thornton to make Angela and Tommy's relationship feel real. They spent time finding not just the fights, but the connection underneath them, the reason these two people stay together despite the chaos. They wanted the marriage to feel earned, not cartoonish. The anger, the love, the tension, and the tenderness all had to coexist. According to Larder, the cast put real effort into building that world in the first season. A house full of noise, conflict, and shared history, and then stepped inside it together. That work shows on screen. And whether viewers like Angela or not, that realism is exactly why she stays. Filming locations. Landman is the kind of show that makes you stop mid-episode, grab your phone, and zoom in on a map of Texas. All that dust, those oil rigs, the glowing steakhouses, and the highways that seem to stretch forever don't feel fake. That's because a lot of them aren't. The show looks real because it's shot in real places, places you can actually visit if you ever feel like turning the series into a road trip. On screen, Landman lives in the Permian Basin, around Midland and Odessa. The story pulls from the real oil boom made famous by the Boomtown podcast. But on camera, the production didn't stay in West Texas full-time. Instead, they set up shop in North Texas, with Fort Worth as their main base. Fort Worth's tourism board has confirmed it. The production office was there, and much of the filming happened in and around the city. Thanks to Fort Worth's mix of modern towers, gritty industrial areas, and wide-open land, it can easily stand in for places that are actually 5 or 6 hours away on the map. When needed, the crew also filmed in Odessa, Weatherford, Young County, and even across the border in Oklahoma. But if there's a heart of Landman, it's Fort Worth. Start downtown, and you'll immediately recognize the scenery. Sundance Square shows up in the show as a clean corporate backdrop where deals get made. The Petroleum Club appears to be the kind of place where Monty would take calls and move money around. You can walk the same plaza, see the fountains and murals, and look up at the skyline that's framed behind Billy Bob Thornton and John Hamm. A short drive away, the historic Fort Worth stockyards feel like stepping straight into the series. Cattleman's Steakhouse flashes by as Tommy heads out to meet Monty. Shops like ML Letty's line the street, and the daily cattle drive down Exchange Avenue looks exactly like it does on screen. Hotel Drover, with its neon cowboy sign and upscale Western vibe, doubles as one of Monty and Cammie's luxury hangouts. You can stay there, eat at 97 West Kitchen and Bar, and stand under that glowing sign knowing you've seen it before, just on TV. Nearby airports play their part too. Perot Field, Fort Worth, Alliance Airport, and Meacham Airport all step in for Midland when Tommy flies in on private jets. Meacham even has an aviation museum you can visit. And yes, the show does make it to the real Midland-Odessa area. Locals were thrilled when cameras showed up. Ratliff Stadium in Odessa, made famous by Friday Night Lights, appears in a scene from Permian high school football. The show also tips its hat to real places like Boomtown Babes Espresso and the Pioneer Cafe in nearby Goldsmith, which helped inspire the fictional Patch Cafe. If you're ever in West Texas, you can grab coffee, drive past the stadium at sunset, and see the landscape that shaped the story. Smaller towns get their moment, too. The crew filmed at a church in Springtown and spent time in Jacksboro, using the local police station and Faith Community Hospital. Taylor Sheridan's Bosque Ranch in Weatherford has also been a regular filming spot. One dramatic scene, a plane landing on what looks like a private oil road, was shot in Young County, where part of State Highway 16 was shut down just to make it happen. Season 2 even crosses into Oklahoma for casino scenes, though Texas remains the show's home base. So if Landman leaves you itching to hit the road, you can. Spend a weekend at Hotel Drover, walk the stockyards, drive out toward Weatherford or Young County. And if you're really committed, make the long haul to Midland and Odessa to see the real Permian Basin. The story may be scripted, but the towns, the highways, the skies, and those stadium lights are all the real thing. Give this video a like and follow if you want more content like this.